Hello, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Teresa Micheletti, and this site is called Take What Rings True. And I share spiritual thoughts on here. And if you believe it, fine. If you don't, just let it go. You don't have to believe anything I say. Most of what I'm going to say today, I learned from spirit guides who would come into trance classes. Sylvia Brown was a trance medium. She would let her spirit guide come into her body. She would go sit on a bench on the other side, not remember anything. And they would share information with us. So Francine was one of her guides. And a lot of this information is from what I learned from Francine. So this subject, vortexes, portals, Bermuda Triangle, is all the kind of thing that I would read when I was a little kid in the believe it or not section in the newspaper. So we see the shape of vortexes in tornadoes, water spouts, or when the bathtub is draining. You see this vortex. We each have vortexes in our body. We have our chakras, and sometimes surgeons can see the vortex when they're doing operations. So they can see your chakras sometimes. So they know that it's actually there. So they're energy centers, and we call them chakras. But today I want to talk about different vortexes or energy experiences. Um, the Bermuda Triangle is like a slip in time or an envelope through which people, airplanes, ships would go through. So sometimes there's a portal, a doorway that's open, not all the time. Sometimes there's a portal that's open, and ships, people, airplanes can get caught in this portal, in this slip in time. And really, what it is are intergalactic highways. Extraterrestrials can travel through, rather like Star Trek says, beam me up, Scotty. And you go through this interchange and go to another space. So Scotty on Star Trek, it's rather like an energy exchange where you start out in one place and you end up in another. Well, the same thing for the Bermuda Triangle and other places like that. There are about 12 of these envelopes in time, and Stonehenge, the Great Pyramids are part of that network. So I've told you before in another live that I can remember being in Stonehenge and I can remember opening up portals. Well, in between the stones are portals to different places in the universe. And I've not actually experienced this, but I do believe it since I have a little connection to it. Another one of these highways or portals, besides the Bermuda Triangle, there's one in Java, one in the ocean near China where people disappear. There's one in Nebraska where a farmer's family watched the farmer walking out and then he suddenly disappeared. They could hear him yelling for 3 days, but they never found him. Francine, the person I was talking about, or the spirit guide I was talking about, who talked about some of these things, said that the guides, spirit guides, had to go rescue him because when you get into these intergalactic highways, we don't know how to get out. So ships, planes, people don't know how to get out when we get in one. Since modern people do not know how to use these teleporting highways, if we get caught in one, it's just like, oh, well. You know how mountain passes are sometimes closed part of the year because of snow or landslides or whatever? Well, the same with the teleport highways. They're not always open. Spirit guides tell us that they rescue people often when they get in there. Not that people get caught in them very often, but when they do, then spirit guides, hosts of heaven, rescue the people. So they're really for quick travel to other planetary systems. And since we don't know how to use the Bermuda Triangle to get to other planetary systems, then people just get caught in them. So there's a system of vortexes, like a grid set up with a high electromagnetic energy at the crossing points. And this system was also used for communication for millennia, just like we use satellites today. In the old and ancient times, aliens would travel on these highways and they would communicate from pyramid to pyramid, from location to location quickly by using this network. And if you pay attention to Jacques Cousteau or some of the explorers, we're told that there are pyramids under the ocean with uh, crystals on top, and those were used for part of the communication system. So, a description Francine gave was, if you were from some other planet and you got caught in one of our elevators and you knew it was a box, but you didn't know how to make it move, well, that's more or less what happens when we're in the Bermuda Triangle or one of those kinds of locations. We don't know how to turn on the go button, and we don't know where we would be going in the first place. So these vortexes have been reported to have healing powers. So Francine, the spirit guide, told us of a story of a doctor who was also a friend of Sylvia Brown's. This doctor was dying of stomach cancer. And he decided, I'm dying, may as well try something. So he wanted to go to the center of the Bermuda Triangle to see if he could be healed. So he and 3 buddies went deep sea diving in the middle of the Bermuda Triangle. Now, they didn't get caught in it and not found again. What did happen was the doctor reported seeing a pyramid under the water with a big crystal on it, but he couldn't get close enough to it. As he swam toward it, he felt like an electrical force almost that like repelled him away. And when he got back home, he went to the doctor and he had no cancer. So in this case, the triangles seem to have healing powers. And it also shows that if you believe that story, that there are crystals under the ocean and there are pyramids with crystals under the ocean. Now, I know Jacques Cousteau explored in my area, Monterey County, in the ocean around us. And I know that he was prevented from exploring part of the area around Bimini because he was finding things under the ocean, like uh, roads made out of brick and going to pyramids and crystals. And that he was stopped from doing that. In the Mediterranean Sea, I know people have told me that they aren't allowed to do deep sea diving in certain sections of the Mediterranean Sea. I think governments don't want these things found. I don't know why they don't want it found, but they don't want them found. So, since I learned what that experience was, I've also learned okay, let me go backtrack. I talked previously about going on a trip and going to the Seattle airport. And as I approached the airport, I was on a highway, and suddenly I knew there was a shift in time and there was a wobble in the dimension that I was in. And I felt like, if you studied math, a Venn diagram, I felt like I was going out of one area and into another area with a different time. Not a big time difference, but a little time difference. And I felt like it was the earth, the environment was shifting. And since that time, I've learned that I can open portals. Well, I knew I could do it in Stonehenge, but I didn't realize I could do it now. So sometimes I use it when I'm healing or helping people. So if you have like a bothersome gremlin or something like that, I can like put it through a portal and take it away. So opening portals. So portals are just doorways. So doorways to different dimensions, doorways to um, the vortexes. So Stonehenge has entrances or portals to different galaxies. Mount Shasta has a vortex. Sedona has vortexes. Grand Canyon has vortexes. And if we could discover how to use those portals like a Stargate, maybe to visit other planets, maybe you are going to be the one to discover how to use those portals. That would be nice. So if you do, please let me know. I'd like to experience that. Maybe you're going to be the one who figures how to use the vortex, beam me up, Scotty, and be able to get there. Or maybe you're going to be the one who discovers this portal goes to Andromeda. This portal goes to Crab Nebula. This portal goes to Seven Sisters, whatever it is. So there are many things to experience. And we've been told multiple times that aliens will make themselves known. We already know, what is it, Area 52. And there's multiple accounts of people knowing what's going on there. I know a construction worker was it Fort Bragg? One of the forts. And he was fixing something and he accidentally went into this room where there was a floating piece of granite just floating in the middle of the air. I know one of my former students, when I was teaching elementary school, had an uncle who worked near Area 52 and described seeing aliens, but he was told not to talk about it. But of course, he told his niece, and his niece told me. So a lot of people have stories about those kinds of things. And I believe that they're true. Probably some of them are made up, but I believe there are aliens, especially since I've seen them through the veil. And I've talked about that before. And I know seeing those differently shaped, differently looking beings through the veil and having other people verify that, yes, they were there. I know that there are aliens. I know we're not the only planet that's inhabited. And so it makes sense that they would come to this planet to help this not so advanced planet. I know Francine, the spirit guide I was talking about, talked about she was an Aztec Inca lady, and aliens would come at a certain time of the year and they would help them with crops and building things. So it isn't just this century that believed in aliens, many centuries. And we've talked about in Peru, on the way to Machu Picchu, you can see the signs that say aliens this way, or spaceships this way, or UFOs this way. I don't know exact wording of the sign, but anyway, they know that they land in a lake and they expect them. It's the United States and maybe some other countries that are advanced who don't want us to talk about or know about aliens. But I believe they're there. You can believe what you want. I believe that the Bermuda Triangle and such examples like that could be highways to other dimensions, other planetary systems. And Star Trek, Beam Me Up, Scotty, it makes sense that a lot of the things that these science fiction writers write is infusion. They get information in their mind that's a reality, but we don't know it's a reality yet. So take what you want and leave the rest. You don't have to believe everything I say, but I do think it's interesting that we have these vortexes. We have portals to these vortexes. We have things like the Bermuda Triangle where people disappear. And Francine assured us that no, they didn't die. We just had to take them out of there, and they didn't suffer or they weren't hurt in any way. They were just lost in a location they didn't know how to get out of. So Let me know if you can figure out how to beam me up, and let me know if you can figure out how to use those intergalactic highways. So thanks for visiting, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.